You're listening to Boot Camp, The Offense, with Stephen Willis and Corey Burton. Welcome back to the Offense Boot Camp with Stephen Willis and Corey Burton. Corey Burton is the offensive coordinator at Hillwood High School. He has lots of good things to share. You should listen to him. He's pretty good. Before we get started, click the bell and subscribe down below on YouTube. Subscribe if on Spotify, subscribe on Stitcher, subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Do whatever you have to do to follow the podcast. And we're going to get into some good video because we saw some timing messed up bad video last time. We're going to get into some good video with Florida Atlantic versus North Texas in 2017, in which FAU put up over 800 yards of total offense. What were your takeaways from this game, Corey?
Well, just from this first clip, you can immediately tell that the offense is a little bit more in sync, a little bit more, they've settled it on a quarterback. They've got their timing down a little bit. So they're starting to bring in more, like in the Navy game, it was all basic 3x1, 2x2, just not very much variation in the formations. Now you're starting to see condensed sets. You're starting to see more motion, and you're starting to see kind of better timing, not only in the run game, but better timing and better reads in the RPO game, which I think Jason Driscoll, not Jeff, is a little bit better at. So they do a tremendous job. Again, what I said in episode 1, Lane Kiffin, his influence on this offense is he wants to control the line of scrimmage. And if he can control the line of scrimmage with 10 and 20 personnel, look out. It's going to be a long day for you. If he can't, then if you're now an Ole Miss fan, but if you were an FAU fan, not FIU. That's probably 4-letter word down there.
Hula Bowl for faux pas.
Yeah, exactly right. But if you were an FAU fan and they couldn't establish a run, then a lot of early on, if you could force them into stay behind the chains, it typically works. But it typically works against a lot of offenses, not just Lane Kiffin. So, I really like the increase in motion to create misdirection. I think they did a better job of that. They hit heavy on the run game. They didn't really have to do much razzle-dazzle against North Texas. They were able to control the line of scrimmage. They introduced a tight end. So they're starting to bring a tight end. So they're starting to get a little bit more 11 personnel in there. And let me explain the 20, 10, 11 personnel. What that refers to is how many backs, how many receivers, and how many tight ends are in the game. So, like, if you have 20 personnel, that's 2 backs, 3 receivers, no tight end. Okay. If you have 10 personnel, that's 4 receivers, 1 back, no tight end. 11 personnel is the same as 10, except you have 3 receivers and a tight end and a running back. Is kind of how it looks. So right now, this freeze frame right here is a condensed set 10 personnel package. So I also liked that he did more tight end stuff. It creates an extra gap. That's the beautiful thing about a tight end against an odd front team. It creates that extra gap for them to defend. A lot more misdirection, and just a lot better timing on everything. And it really shows. And I don't know if there's any more evidence than racking up 800 something yards of total offense and 1.5 million points. So, Steve, let's roll a video. Here's jet sweep right here. Let's get this game started right. Yeah.
He's almost gone. Yeah.
Here's that inside zone read type look. Bad snap here, so there's still a little bit of timing issues. But here's that arrow screen. With the bad snap, they just flip it straight out to the arrow screen and just try to get what they can get. Now we're going to come back to jet sweep. Just keep those perimeter guys. See, what I love about this RPO right here, this arrow RPO, is a good way to get spread teams is blitzing off the edge, because typically pass protections will predicate towards blocking the interior. And teams that blitz a lot off the edge, if you run that arrow screen, it really holds those edge guys and prevents them from blitzing too much because they get burned. But they just rip right down the field here. Just a standard inside zone here to Devin Singletary for the touchdown. Just really, really good execution on that first series. Here we go. Here's the run. They're just chewing up 3, 4, 5 yards a pop. It opens everything up because everything has to suck into the cylinder. They're able to throw quick game out there. It sets up so much if you can run. They have a lot more play action. Their RPO game works. Here's another nifty jet sweep counter screen. It's like the counter flare screen off a jet sweep. It gets those defenders rolling down to the other side. You stop them, twirl them around, and let him go. That's a good counter off of that. See, what I love about this system is it is so simple with its base principles that it allows for so many different counters that are just simple one-word tags.
And just so you know, it says 3rd and 7, but they actually went for 4th and 4, and they didn't have time to get the scoreboard changed and score the second touchdown just on tempo because North Texas is completely unable to substitute personnel.
Yeah, and that's another thing that they can do as they get more comfortable. They can start going tempo on you. They can start changing the tempo. They can slow down, speed up, check with me, all that stuff. And they're just going at a better pace now as well.
Somebody like Rich Rod in the run game would be a fairly seamless transition to this system, it seems like.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's all based on tempo with Rich Rod and everything. I mean, all these spread systems have kind of morphed from Rich Rod, a lot of it. Like a lot of these tempo schemes are kind of like offshoots of what Rich Rod likes to do, which is kind of what, that was like an unintentional good hire for Ole Miss, even though it didn't work out all around, but it at least gets your guys used to this type of system. But here's that vertical shot right there. Now against Navy, they just missed it. Against North Texas, they didn't. Play action, post, they caught the safety coming down. When you have a successful run game, it gets those safeties. It forces them to be active, and they cannot sit back. And when they don't sit back, that's when you can hit them over the top.
And
talk about the single route here.
Talk about the quarterback position and what you're looking for as Jason Driscoll is about to break another long run.
Yeah, it just depends on the play. Like that previous play where he threw that out route, every RPO. This is another layer of the RPO. Every RPO has what's called a gift read. So a lot of times you'll have a solo receiver by himself, and he has some sort of gift route, whether it's a hitch, speed out, slant, whatever that particular guy's good at. And what that quarterback is looking for when he steps up to the line on an RPO is he's going to look at that gift read. If that corner's playing way off and he's got a lot of cushion, he's told he can step off and throw that right now, immediately. No questions asked. And then what he's looking for is they determine each scheme who their conflict guy is. If they have kind of a more vertical route, it's going to be probably your Mike linebacker is going to be your conflict guy. But if it's like a arrow screen or something like that, it's going to be that edge box defender. Like I said in the last episode, kind of putting him in conflict. They're going to count the backers in the box. So it's going to be the weak side box linebacker. That's going to be most likely your target conflict player. It just depends on the route concepts. You saw earlier they ran mesh, which you have two guys crossing underneath, and then you have, I think, dig routes that come over top of it. What you're looking for is areas of the field. If that middle opens way up, you're going to hit one of those. You're going to hit those meshes are taught to sit in those windows, and you're just really kind of looking low to high on those. Post, you're looking for safety. What is the safety doing? Is he vacating the middle of the field? Right here, he's just looking at an area. He's looking at that. He's looking at those pylons, and he's just throwing to a spot at that point. And it all depends what the play is and what he's taught to look at.
Now, if you have a team that is bringing back a lot of young running back talent, which Ole Miss undoubtedly is, this is a pretty good system for that, right?
Yeah, I mean it's a run first system that's going to predicate everything on the quick game. So the backs are involved in the pass game through flare screens and things like that. Especially when he gets in that split back look, they really like getting in that look as the season goes on, because you had two really good running backs that could do some things, and you could actually run an RPO with that with the flare screen. You it's called a smoke motion. You smoke one guy out, and you read that box defender, that linebacker, and if that linebacker runs with them, you give it. If he kind of slow plays it or stops or doesn't go with him, you flip it out to that flare screen. And that's a good way to get two really good running backs involved, is you go 20 personnel, but instead of a tailback and a fullback, you have dual tailbacks that line up in a split formation. And there's so many more things you can do. You can run outside zone to either side. You can run a flare with play action. You can do, you have better pass protection. You have different things you can do. So there's a lot of variance in the run game, which is what Lane Kiffin, that's kind of the time that he spent in Alabama. Kind of there's a gift route right there. He didn't complete it, but you knew that he saw that cushion.
Now, speaking of the run game, the Baylor offense does such a great job, and that's a good example of it, of wide receiver splits, just kind of taking out the trash. Explain that.
Yeah, it's making defenses defend every blade of grass, and defenses will call it stupid splits, and their goal is to see how far, not the corner. The corner's going to go, but how far those safeties and those perimeter box players are going to go. How far out are they going to go? Are they going to split the difference? Are they not really going to respect your stupid split? Are they going to get out there on you, and create a thinned out box? It's just, you really it forces defenses to establish what they want to do, where they want to defend, and what coverages they want to be in, and how they want to cover it. Because when you're spread out that far, there's no games you can play because you're on an island. You have so much ground to cover. If you're going to be out there, you got to get out there pre-snap because you got a lot of ground to cover, which is the beautiful thing about it. And it forces defenses to be fundamentally sound. So it forces defenses to win one-on-one battles, which is not always easy especially on the interior where you've got double teams, combos, things like that. And it does a good job of creating 5-man boxes. And if you can get a 5-man box and you don't rush for 200 yards, something's wrong.
Yeah, and put this in perspective, I think this game there were like 460 yards rushing.
Yeah, because North Texas played the stupid split. They got guys extended, and they just ran right up the gut. I mean, it's crazy.
And this is a lame play.
Yeah, here's a condensed bunch set down in the red zone, just trying to get bodies in the box. What these condensed sets do is, if you notice, what the defense will do is they'll kind of create like an umbrella around it. They'll kind of just keep everything in front, because the staples of those bunch formations is what's called breakouts. So you'll have route concepts that break out of those. And so the best way to play that defensively is just kind of sit back and let things unfold. And then you just, he takes that route, he jumps that route, he jumps that route. And that really is an advantage in the run game because you don't have so many people crowding the line of scrimmage.
They just ran the triple option where the first read is the jet sweep, the second read is inside zone, and then third read is the quarterback keeps it.
Yep, exactly. It's that's something as they go, and depending on how things go at Ole Miss, they might be able to come out of the gates with that if they can get their timing down. But that's one of those that just takes a lot of reps. A lot of reps. So
it's another situation where Rich Rod probably helped them because they've repped the inside zone so much they can do it in their sleep at this point.
Yeah, and that's what the Baylor offense is inside zone, outside zone, inside zone, outside zone, inside zone, outside zone. And it's just predicated on those two run schemes. And that's really all they need. And then occasionally they've seen in these two cut-ups that I've watched, they've ran that dart play once, which is the dart play is inside zone, but you're just pulling the tackle is all you're doing, which is kind of cool. But, here's inside zone right there. They spread them out on the goal line. they get man to man, and those linemen do their job. So here's jet sweep, inside zone, trip. Here's that. This is more of a double option here because you don't have the quarterback that's keeping it. But still, it's a lot of eye wash. A lot of eye candy.
They were blitzing to stop the jet sweep.
Mm-hmm. And that's that option off of it. That's where it's dangerous because you get so many teams that fly to the edge to block that jet sweep because typically when teams run jet sweep, they know it's coming right there. So they're gonna roll a secondary. They're gonna blitz heavy to that C gap, and then if you can get them on a counter back across the other way, running inside zone, it's gonna hurt them. And then here it does. Breaks off a long run here.
People are so quick to mistakenly identify Lane Kiffin as pass first, and he is very much a run coordinator.
He's not. Yeah, and all fast screens is just extended run plays. And that's what Baylor's predicated on: fast screens and short stuff. And that's all it is just a different way of running the ball. So people get caught up if that ball flies through the air. It's not going past the line of scrimmage most of the time. It's just flipping it out there to a perimeter guy and say, okay, let's go 2-on-2. Throw it out there. Let's go now. Let's go fast. And that's what it is. But Lane Kiffin wants to control the line of scrimmage. He wants to control the line of scrimmage. That's from his days at Alabama. That's the Nick Saban in him. That's I spent 3 or 4 years at Alabama, something in that ballpark. Or was it more? I lose track.
I think it was 3 years.
3 years, yeah. So he spent 3 years at Alabama getting pounded into his head, control the line of scrimmage, win the line of scrimmage, win the line of scrimmage. That's going to be valuable coming into this conference because you have to win the line of scrimmage. And he's going to have to play a little bit more 11 personnel here in the SEC because that's just kind of what you need to control the line of scrimmage. But if they can get some misdirection stuff going and some of this stuff going and really forcing defenses to expand horizontally, then it's going to be incredible for him. And he's going to have a lot of success. But early on, temper your expectations because it takes a lot of timing. It might be ugly at first, which is fine. It's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of mistakes, but be patient. You can see in these two cut-ups, you can see the world of difference in what they were doing. The timing, which is important, the reads, everything unfolding a little bit quicker, the ability to use tempo, all that stuff is going to be extremely valuable for Ole Miss. Maybe not in game one. Who does Ole Miss start out with? Baylor. Ooh.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one.
Well, it's going to be a good one. That's going to be a good test. That's going to be interesting. But can they get their timing right? Which that's important. And given the coronavirus world that we're sitting in right now, that might be a little tougher. That might be even tougher. Even with a normal schedule, it'd be tough because you would have spring practice, you have all that stuff. But the current calendar that we're on right now, it's going to be. We don't know. No one knows what's going to happen with this whole virus thing. So we don't know where the timing is going to go. We don't know how long it's going to take, but it's going to take a lot of reps. So what they're going to have to do, they're going to have to get creative as a staff. Okay. They're going to have to figure out exactly, okay, we're going to have to really get on the board and say, okay, we want this RPO. We want these key screens. We want these 2 pass concepts. Let's focus on our timing on these and just let everything else fall out from that. And I think it's going to be the arrow screen RPO. I think that's their primary RPO. Which is a great one because it really messes with those edge guys. And then you're going to see, your flare screen, and then you're going to see, just your quick game, like your hitch, slant, speed outs, things like that. And then you're going to see, all your key screen game, throw to number 1, throw the bubble to number 2, getting 3-by-1, throw the bubble to number 3, throw the bubble to number 2, getting these tight sets, and then just really pound inside zone, Let's establish the run, and let's let everything unfold from there. Okay, we're going to make mistakes in the other aspects of the game. Okay, we're going to make mistakes, but let's go fast. Let's do those few things right, and let's build everything else off of that. That's got to be the plan if you're going to be successful.
All right. Thank you, Corey. We're going to watch a few more videos on the 2017 FAU offense, and I think we're going to close it out. Planning on closing out with the CUSA championship game from this year, which has a completely different style quarterback. Tune into them, and we'll see you then.